of challenges, and that is why the UK supports education through a variety of our work. Recognising the variety of barriers and challenges to giving every child 12 years of education, we put our focus on education across a large number of our policies and programmes. We have programmes which address the barriers facing marginalised groups, whether that's caste, ethnicity, disability or language. We work to improve the quality of teaching and learning, particularly through our work with the British Council, and we support child protection, especially of adolescent girls. For girls in particular, in the light of the particular challenges that they often face, we have a set of girls' education programmes which are run through our Girls' Education Challenge. There's a huge amount of best practice, experience and expertise among you all. So I'm delighted to support the British Council in running this symposium to bring you all together to share that experience and discuss challenges and generate ideas. I'm also pleased to highlight the Education World Forum, which in March this coming year will consider the implications for education from the COVID-19 pandemic and think about what can be learned from the strategies and policies that governments have used to support students and education systems. I hope Nepal will be represented there at senior levels. These are difficult times for families, for schools, for leaders, and for everyone striving to reach their goals and open up opportunities for themselves and for others. But leadership is the most important element now more than ever. So it's really timely that this year's Education Symposium has a focus on leadership and is bringing together leaders in schools and education from across Nepal. My mother used to be a head teacher. Even in the UK, where the challenges are so much fewer than here in Nepal, it was tough. But I know that she drew great support from talking to other head teachers and leaders in education about the challenges. Sharing leadership best practice and sharing with policymakers the very real and practical difficulties that teachers and schools face on the ground are a critical part of building a strong, inclusive and lasting education system. I give you my full support and wish you all the best of luck in navigating these unprecedented, difficult times. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Nicola, for those kind words. We're also delighted to have our new country director, Shahida McDougall, with us here today. I'd now like to invite her to say a few words. Shahida, over to you.
Namaste, and thank you, Your Excellency, Vaishali, and good morning and good afternoon to our chief guest, Mr. Deepak Sharma, and special guest, Tulashi Tapalia, and our distinguished guests, speakers, and participants. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome you to the 4th Annual Education Symposium, and this year with a special focus on school leadership. This time we're trying a different approach and using our virtual platform to bring you an exciting opportunity to engage with experts and practitioners from the education sector, to share experiences and achievements with your peers and exchange ideas with your colleagues from within and outside Nepal. And I'm sure you will all agree that it is during difficult times like this when the role of a leader cannot be underestimated. Leaders across the world in every organization have had to adjust their styles and messaging to keep their teams focused, empowered, and motivated in order to boost morale and to fulfill promises and commitments to their customers and stakeholders. And the education sector is no exception. Like any other sector, education needs and relies on strong and inspirational leaders to make a difference and drive much needed systemic reform. Good educational leaders inspire those around them, teachers, pupils, policymakers, even parents and administrators. And you are the ones creating the enabling environment to develop the minds and passion to learn for young people, to help them to acquire the vital knowledge and skills that will equip them for many, many challenges of the real world. to strengthen their resilience and to help them to achieve their full potential. And only by inspiring the next generation through education will those young people grow and be able to play an active role in their communities that we will all ultimately benefit from, individually and as a society overall. Nepal's school sector development plan also stresses the need for enhancing leadership capacity in schools, stating that the head teachers will have an increased focus on instructional leadership, including reviewing teacher performance, monitoring teachers' time on task, and building teachers' capacity. So with that in mind, we have prepared a range of interactive sessions over the next few days that will cover these particular aspects and provide practical tips and techniques that can be used to review existing policies and shape new ones. And the publication Developing Effective Learning in Nepal that will be launched on Thursday tomorrow is a practical guide for leaders wishing to drive those improvements for their staff and their students. There are many wonderful and strong partnerships and collaborations among different organizations and the government of Nepal, all working together for the development of the education sector in Nepal. And for over 60 years, the British Council has been privileged and proud to be part of this journey and will continue to work with our partners locally and globally to learn, develop and share the very best in education expertise. Through our flagship programs like Connecting Classrooms through Global Learning and English and Digital for Girls in Education, and working together with the government of Nepal and our partners, we have managed to achieve a tremendous amount, including building capacity of over 500 head teachers on vital but quite often underappreciated skills like planning and monitoring. And we're really, really excited and looking forward to strengthening our partnerships and achieving even more together in the future. I would like to leave you with a quote from Maya Angelou, who said that we delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but we rarely admit the challenges it has gone through to achieve that beauty. So enjoy this symposium, and I hope it will provide you with an opportunity to pause and reflect on what's important for you to make those changes within your organizations and schools to produce those amazing, wonderful, and beautiful butterflies of the next generation. Thank you for your passion, commitment, and partnerships. Enjoy your day, and it means a lot to us. Thank you, and dhanyavad.
Thank you, Shahida. That really means a lot. Shahidale आफ्नो भाषणमा भने जस्तै जसरी पुतलीले आफ्नो सुन्दर पुतली बन्नका लागि पार गरेका स्वरूपहरूको हामी मुस्किलले प्रशंसा गर्छौं, त्यसैगरी हामी हाम्रा विद्यालयका नेतृत्वले विद्यालयको सम्पूर्ण विकासका लागि गर्नुभएका कडा मेहनतको प्रशंसा गर्न पनि चुकेका छौं कि? त्यसैले यो कार्यक्रमले विद्यालयका नेतृत्वले गर्नुभएका प्रत्येक प्रयासहरूलाई धन्यवाद व्यक्त पनि गर्ने उद्देश्य राखेका छौं। अब म यस कार्यक्रमका प्रमुख अतिथि शिक्षा विज्ञान तथा प्रविधि मन्त्रालयका प्रवक्ता तथा महासचिव आदरणीय दीपक शर्माज्यूलाई मन्त्रालयका तर्फबाट केही शब्दहरू राखिदिनु हुन अनुरोध गर्दछु। Deepak sir, over to you.
Thank you, Vaishali. Her Excellency Nicola Polit, British Ambassador to Nepal, and Saida, new country director, British Council Nepal, and DG CSRD, Dr. Tulsi Prasad Thapalia, mayors, deputy mayors, senior policymakers, planners, and head teachers, and professors, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you for giving this opportunity to join this events. यहाँहरु सबैलाई धन्यवाद यो अवसर दिनुभयो शिक्षा विज्ञान तथा प्रविधि मन्त्रालयलाई र जुन रिमार्क्स अहिले निकोला र सैदाले दिनुभयो नेपालको कन्टेक्स्टमा त्यसको लागि पनि म चाहिँ धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु। हाम्रो आवश्यकता किन छ भन्ने कुरा धेरै कुराहरु हाइलाइट गरिसक्नु भएको छ। So it is my privilege to have this opportunity to be a part of this events. Of 5 days, 4th Education Symposium. This is hosted by the British Council. I have created a platform to share good practices and ideas on different dimensions of the school's leadership. As we know that teaching is a complex activity designed to promote learning, and schools is an institution where systematic learning takes place. Therefore, schools leadership is always vital for us. As my observation, to many extent, success or failure of the schools as in learning institutions largely depends on the practice or quality of the school's leadership. Particularly, I would like to say that role of the teachers. In this context, I think this symposium is very useful to share the good practices as well as the issues and challenges relating to the current practices of school leadership in Nepal and other countries. Now, we are in very difficult situation to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education for all due to COVID-19 pandemic. However, it is the time to think and act for a paradigm shift in teaching learning processes, students' achievement, assessment, and use of ICT in education. Recently, Government of Nepal has introduced learning facilitation guideline and immediate action plan to establish proper open and distance learning practices by targeting the learning needs of the schools going age children in the COVID-19 context. Schools teachers, schools management committee and local government has very crucial and prime role to make this happen. School head teacher, schools management committee, administrators and planners need to focus to reform in school governance and the practices of school leadership in the change context. For this, I hope this symposium provides the opportunity for constructive dialogue. Finally, I wish the best success of this symposium. म यो 5 दिने कार्यक्रमको पूर्ण सफलताको कामना गर्दछु र यसमा धेरै सहभागीहरू जो हुनुहुन्छ उहाँहरूले वर्तमान परिवेशमा यसो स्कुल लिडरशिपको विभिन्न आयामहरूमा बसेर छलफल गरेर एउटा सृजनात्मक तवरले छलफल गरेर एउटा निष्कर्षमा पुग्नु हुनेछ र यो फलदायी हुनेछ भन्ने आशा राख्दै यहाँहरुसँग बिदा हुन चाहन्छु. थ्यांक यू. गुड बाय.
Thank you so much, Deepak sir. We at British Council also hope that the discussions and points that come up from these next 5 days will be able to support in the development of further policies related to school leadership. And we look forward to working together with the government on this as well. We are now moving on to our first session of the symposium, where we will have 3 speakers talking about the current policies and practices related to school leadership. I'd first like to introduce our speakers. We have Mr. Girman Thapa, who is the director of CHRD. He will be sharing about the current policies and practices in Nepal. We will then have Susan Douglas, Senior Advisor for Schools for British Council. She will share about the importance of school leadership and what good school leadership looks like. Our third presenter will be Wasim Shirazi, course coordinator for the school leadership program in Punjab, Pakistan. He will share about Pakistan's policies on education and what the government is currently doing to enhance school leadership. There will be a question and answer session at the end of the 3 presentations, so please feel free to drop your questions as the presentation goes onto the chat box, and one of my colleagues will take note of it. हजुरहरुको केही प्रश्न छ भने च्याट बक्समा लेखिदिनु होला. हामी अन्तिममा प्रेजेन्टर्सलाई हजुरहरुको प्रश्न राख्ने छौं. अब म हाम्रो प्रथम प्रस्तोता गिरमान थापाज्यूलाई आफ्नो प्रस्तुतिलाई प्रस्तुत गर्न हार्दिक अनुरोध गर्दछु.
Thank you so much, Vaishali ma'am. यो अवसरको लागि respected chief guest and sir madam. Today in Virtual Education Symposium 2020 organized by British Council, I am going to make a short presentation on current national policies and practices relating to school leadership in Nepal. I heartily welcome to you all in my presentation. Gaurav sir, Vaishali ma'am.
Hazur.
Vaishali ma'am.
Slide. Hazur.
Hazur.
Slide आयो सरको स्क्रिनमा सर?
आछैन आयो हस्. My presentation points are school leadership concept, policies of school leadership in Nepal, practices, challenges and suggestions. Okay, next please. Madam.
हजुर. Slide move भयो सर?
भयो छैन. ढिला हुन्छ कि किन यस्तो ढिला गर्यो
सर म हेर्दैछु
नेट त यहाँ राम्रै चलेकै छ
Now visible, sir. Clear.
है त
सर अब आयो
आएको छैन
हामीले देखिरहेछौँ पार्टिसिपेन्ट्सले देखिरहेछौँ
हजुरले देख्नु भएको छ है त्यसो भने या देख्छु हजुर हजुर
आएको छैन
या
ठीक छ
स्कुल
नेक्स्ट
लिडरसिप
स्लाइड आइसक्यो
महिउद्दिनले भन्नुभएको छ जस्ट एज एभ्री ग्रुप निड्स अ लिडर सो अल्सो स्कुल मस्ट ह्याभ अ लिडर हु वुड स्टिमुलेट एन्ड डिरेक्ट इट्स वर्क त्यसै गरी जसवन्त सिंहले भन्नुभएको छ द प्रिन्सिपल अफ ए स्कुल इज द हब अफ द एजुकेसन प्रोसेस एन्ड पिसी वेरनले चाहिँ द क्यारेक्टर अफ द स्कुल रिफ्लेक्ट्स एन्ड प्रोक्लेम्स द क्यारेक्टर अफ द प्रिन्सिपल भनेर यो एउटा स्कुल लिडरसिपको कन्सेप्ट र महत्त्वलाई चाहिँ उजागर गर्नुभएको छ अब म चाहिँ पोलिसी तर्फ जान्छु हाम्रो 15औं योजना 15th प्लानमा चाहिँ के भनेको छ भन्दाखेरि क्रिएट सेपरेट पोजिसन्स अफ स्कुल हेड टिचर्स इन कम्युनिटी सेकेन्डरी स्कुल्स टु स्ट्रेन्थन स्कुल म्यानेजमेन्ट इन अ फेज्ड म्यानर स्टार्टिङ फ्रम मोडल सेकेन्डरी स्कुल भनेर चाहिँ भनेको छ अब त्यसै गरिकन अर्को अलि स्लाइड ढिला भयो के अरे है अर्को चाहिँ यो एजुकेसन पोलिसी वी हेभ एजुकेसन पोलिसी 2076 यसमा चाहिँ के भन्छ भन्दाखेरि टु फेसिलिटेट द रोल अफ स्कुल लिडरसिप द क्यापासिटी डेभलपमेन्ट एक्टिभिटिज विल बी अर्गनाइज्ड अन द बेसिस अफ क्वालिफिकेसन्स क्यापेबिलिटिज एन्ड पर्फर्मेन्स अफ द हेड टिचर टिचर्स will be made administratively accountable to the head teacher and students and parents for learning achievement, and the head teachers will be made accountable to students, parents and local level for students learning and management भनेर एजुकेसन पोलिसी 2076 मा उल्लेख भएको कुरो मैले चाहिँ यहाँलाई प्रस्तुत गरेँ अब त्यसै गरी एसएसडीपी मा के छ त भन्ने कुरा एसएसडीपी मा पोलिसी चाहिँ create separate positions for head teachers to strengthen school management in a phased way starting from model secondary schools. SSDP ले model secondary school को चाहिँ model school को अवधारणा ल्याएको छ अनि त्यसमा चाहिँ के भन्छ भन्दाखेरि create separate position छुट्टै चाहिँ तहको छुट्टै पद सृजना गर्ने भनेर चाहिँ लेखेको छ त्यसै गरिकन अर्को चाहिँ school management committees are supported in the internal management and day-to-day functioning of schools by PTAs. Head teachers focus on technical functions, particularly on teacher performance, teachers' time on task, and teacher capacity building. भनेर चाहिँ एसएसटीपी मा भएको पोलिसीको कुरा मैले यहाँलाई निवेदन गरेँ त्यसै गरिकन अर्को चाहिँ एसएसटीपी मै छ introduce performance based management and resourcing for ensuring accountability at the school level, establish efficient and effective educational services by strengthening public financial management and school level management भनेर यदि कुरा चाहिँ स्कुल लिडरसिपको विषयमा एसएसटीपी मा चाहिँ उल्लेख भएको कुरो मैले यहाँलाई अनुरोध गरेँ अब म प्र्याक्टिसेस अफ स्कुल लिडरसिप इन नेपाल को सन्दर्भमा हेर्दाखेरि हाम्रो प्रत्येक स्कुलमा एकजना चाहिँ हेड टिचर जो प्राज्ञिक र चाहिँ प्रशासनिक पक्ष हेर्ने गरी एकजना हेड टिचरको चाहिँ व्यवस्था छ र हेड टिचरहरू धेरै जसो स्कुलहरूमा एजुकेसनल क्वालिफिकेसन टिचिङ एक्सपिरियन्स ट्रेनिङ द रिजल्ट अब्टेन इन द सब्जेक्ट अफ एन्ड स्कुल डेभलपमेन्ट प्रपोजल एबिलिटी टु टेक द लिड यदि 4-5 वटा आधारमा चाहिँ हेड टिचरहरू छनौट हुने गर्छन् हेड टिचरको नियुक्ति हुने गर्छ सबै स्कुलमा नभए पनि अधिकांश चाहिँ माध्यमिक विद्यालयहरू लगायत अरू स्कुलहरूमा पनि यी आधारमा हेड टिचरहरूको नियुक्ति हुने छनौट हुने चाहिँ अभ्यास छ अब त्यसै गरिकन हाम्रो हेड टिचरको नेतृत्व क्षमता अभिवृद्धिका लागि, नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लिज, हेड टिचर नेतृत्व क्षमता अभिवृद्धिका लागि नेपाल सरकारले 30 कार्य दिनको चाहिँ हेड टिचर लिडरसिप डेभलपमेन्ट ट्रेनिङ अथवा नेतृत्व क्षमता अभिवृद्धि तालिम 10 दिनको चाहिँ 30 दिनको यो तालिम सञ्चालन गर्दै आइराखेको छ। यो 30 दिनको तालिमको स्ट्रक्चर हेर्ने हो भने यसका दुईवटा चरण छन्। पहिलो चरण चाहिँ 10 दिनको ट्रेनिङ वर्कसप र त्यसपछि 5 दिनको सेल्फ स्टडी प्र्याक्टिस, यो चाहिँ 15 दिन भयो पहिलो चरण। दोस्रो चरण पनि ट्रेनिङ वर्कसप 10 दिनको अनि त्यसपछि सेल्फ स्टडी प्र्याक्टिस 5 दिनको गरेर 15 दिन 15 30 दिनको चाहिँ हेड टिचर ट्रेनिङ निरन्तर रूपमा सञ्चालन हुँदै आइराखेको छ। यस्तो यो तालिमबाट हेड टिचरहरूको चाहिँ लिडरसिप क्यापासिटी डेभलप हुने गरी यो तालिम सञ्चालन हुँदै आइराखेको अवस्था छ। अब त्यसै गरिकन अर्को चाहिँ यो मोडेल स्कुलको मैले अघि पनि यहाँलाई भने मोडेल स्कुलको अवधारणा एसएसडीपी पछि मोडेल स्कुलको अवधारणा आएको छ र खास गरी मोडेल स्कुलको हेड टिचरहरूलाई तालिम सञ्चालन गर्नका लागि केन्द्रमा ट्रेनिङ अफ ट्रेनर्स प्रोग्राम अथवा टिओटी प्रोग्राम सञ्चालन हुने गर्छ 7 दिनको। त्यसै गरी मोडेल स्कुलका हेड टिचरहरूको क्षमता वृद्धि गर्नका लागि अथवा स्कुललाई मोडेल स्कुलको रूपमा इस्टाब्लिस बनाउँदै अगाडि लैजानको लागि 7 डेज ट्रेनिङ चाहिँ आयोजना हुँदै आइराखेको छ, यो प्र्याक्टिसमा छ। त्यसै गरिकन एसआइपी फर्मुलेसन र इम्प्लिमेन्टेसन, विद्यालय सुधार योजना निर्माण र त्यसको प्रभावकारी कार्यान्वयनका सम्बन्धमा पनि हेड टिचरहरूलाई तालिम सञ्चालन हुँदै आइराखेको अवस्था छ भने अब डिआरआर यो र स्कुल सेफ्टीलाई इन्क्लुड गरेर ट्रेनिङ यो एसआइपीमा चाहिँ इन्क्लुड गरेर अनि त्यसपछि त्यसको तालिम पनि हेड टिचरलाई मात्र नभएर टिचरहरूलाई विद्यालय व्यवस्थापन समिति स्कुल म्यानेजमेन्ट कमिटीलाई पनि यो तालिमहरू सञ्चालन हुँदै आइराखेको अवस्था छ। यी त भए प्र्याक्टिसका कुराहरू। अब म केही च्यालेन्जको कुराहरू गर्न चाहन्छु। च्यालेन्ज हामीसँग के छ भन्दाखेरि क्रिएट सेपरेट पोजिसन फर हेड टिचर। हेड टिचरको छुट्टै पोजिसन खास गरिकन सेकेन्डरी लेभल स्कुलमा चाहिँ हेड टिचरको छुट्टै पद सिर्जना गर्ने भन्ने कुरा भए पनि त्यो सामान्यतया अहिले त्यति कार्यान्वयनमा आइसकेको अवस्था छैन भने बिल्ड इन्स्ट्रक्सनल लिडरसिप, हेड टिचरहरूमा इन्स्ट्रक्सनल लिडरसिप, योभन्दा पछिको सेसनमा पनि धेरै कुरा हुनेछ। इन्स्ट्रक्सनल लिडरसिप चाहिँ हेड टिचरमा बिल्ड गर्नुपर्ने त्यो विकास गर्नुपर्ने आवश्यकता छ, तर अपेक्षित रूपमा हुन सकेको छैन। र कन्डक्टिङ डाइभर्स हेड टिचर प्रोफेसनल डेभलपमेन्ट प्रोग्राम, खालि हेड टिचरको प्रोफेसनल डेभलपमेन्टको लागि प्र्याक्टिसमा चाहिँ बढी ट्रेनिङलाई नै फोकस गरिएको छ, तर ट्रेनिङ मात्र नभइकन हेड टिचरको प्रोफेसनल डेभलपमेन्टको लागि अरू पक्षहरू पनि हुन सक्छ। अरू ती कुराहरूमा अलि जोड दिनुपर्ने हामीलाई चुनौती छ। र त्यसै गरी स्ट्रेन्थेन द क्यापासिटी टु युज द एसआइपिज एज टुल्स फर क्वालिटी इम्प्रुभमेन्टको लागि पनि हाम्रो चुनौती छ। लिङ्क हेड टिचर्स रेस्पोन्सिबिलिटी अन टेक्निकल फङ्सन्स अफ टिचर पर्फर्मेन्स, टिचर्स टाइम अन टास्क एन्ड टिचर क्यापासिटी बिल्डिङमा पनि अलिकति चुनौती छ भने अब मेरो केही 2-4वटा सजेसनहरू यसमा मेरा कुराहरू छ। एउटा चाहिँ के हुनुपर्छ त भन्दाखेरि लिगल प्रोभिजन फर रिक्रुटिङ सेपरेट हेड टिचर। यसलाई चाहिँ हाम्रो शिक्षा ऐनमा नै यो व्यवस्था भएर कार्यान्वयनमा आउनुपर्छ। रिक्रुटिङ हेड टिचर्स एज पर दि डिटर्मिन्ड क्राइटेरिया, सबै विद्यालयमा चाहिँ त्यो निर्धारित क्राइटेरियाको आधारमा चाहिँ हेड टिचरहरू नियुक्ति हुनु आवश्यक छ। र डाइभर्स हेड टिचर प्रोफेसनल डेभलपमेन्ट प्रोग्रामहरू सञ्चालन चाहिँ गरिनुपर्छ उनीहरूको क्षमता वृद्धिका लागि। हेड टिचरको क्वालिफिकेसन पनि तपाईँको ब्याचलर लेभल आधारभूत तहको लागि बेसिक लेभलको लागि ब्याचलर लेभल र सेकेन्डरी लेभलको लागि चाहिँ मास्टर्स डिग्री भनेको छ। धेरै स्कुलहरूमा भए पनि सबै स्कुलहरूमा चाहिँ त्यो क्राइटेरिया मिट गरेको अवस्था छैन। अनि त्यसपछि त्यसतर्फ ध्यान दिन आवश्यक छ भने प्रोभाइडिङ सब्जेक्ट टिचर्स इन इच स्कुल एज पर निड। सब्जेक्ट टिचर खास गरी सेकेन्डरी स्कुलमा सब्जेक्ट वाइज टिचरहरू चाहिँ सबै स्कुलमा पूर्ति भएको छैन, कमी छ। त्यसैले त्यो पूर्ति गर्न सक्यो भने पनि तपाईँको हेड टिचरको चाहिँ एउटा लिडरसिपमा पनि थप इन्हान्स हुनसक्छ। र पर्फर्मेन्स बेस्ड इन्सेन्टिभ चाहिँ अति आवश्यक छ। हेड टिचरहरूलाई खासै इन्सेन्टिभ छैन, 500-1000 रुपियाँ चाहिँ थप दिएर मात्रै हुने छैन त्यसैले यसमा चाहिँ यो पर्फर्मेन्स बेस्ड इन्सेन्टिभ के आवश्यक पर्छ भने अब टिचरहरूको पर्फर्मेन्स अप्रेजलका लागि हेड टिचरलाई पूर्ण रूपमा चाहिँ जिम्मेवार बनाएर कार्यान्वयनमा ल्याउन आवश्यक छ र क्यापेसिटेड हेड टिचर्स एज एकाडेमिक म्यानेजर्स एज वेल एज लिडर्स यो चाहिँ वास्तवमा म्यानेजर र लिडर दुवै रूपमा चाहिँ हेड टिचरलाई विकास गर्न आवश्यक छ यसो गर्न सकेको खण्डमा हेड टिचरको इन्स्ट्रक्सनल लिडरसिप पनि इन्हान्स हुने र कक्षा कोठाको शिक्षण सिकाइमा क्लासरुम टिचिङ लर्निङमा पनि हेड टिचरबाट अन्य टिचरहरूलाई सपोर्ट हुने र अन्ततोगत त्यसले चाहिँ क्वालिटी टिचिङ लर्निङमा इन्हान्स गर्दै विद्यार्थीहरूको स्टुडेन्टको लर्निङ एचिभमेन्टमा चाहिँ सपोर्ट पुग्छ भन्ने अपेक्षा गर्न सकिन्छ हस् धन्यवाद
Thank you, Girman sir. As mentioned before, if you have any questions for Girman sir, please make sure you mention your questions on the chat box. We will be asking the questions to him after all the three presenters finish. Thank you, Girman sir. हजुरलाई मै बस्दिनु होला हामी पछि क्वेशन एन्ड आन्सरमा हजुरसँग फेरि सम्पर्क गर्छौं Next, can I request Susan?
I'm here.
Susan, is your slide up? Can you see the slide?
No, I can't. It won't let me. It says only meeting organisers and presenters can share. Could I be given permission to share or not?
Sure. Can you see a button on your screen that says request control?
It won't. Yes, I know how to do that, but it won't let me. It says it's disabled by the Sharers Companies Administrator. It doesn't matter. I can just ask for the slides to be moved if that's easier.
Sure. I'm so sorry about that. Can you see it on the screen?
I can, no problem at all. I'll just ask for them to be pressed one at a time. So if you can just, whoever is controlling them, if they can just click them one at a time, that's perfect. Let's just stop there. That's lovely.
Yeah.
So good morning, everybody. My name's Susan Douglas. I am one of the senior schools advisors at the British Council, based here in the UK. That's a job, though, that I do part-time. The rest of the time, I'm a school leader myself. So I'm sitting here in one of my schools in West London, which is near Heathrow, near the airport. So as you will all understand as school leaders, if suddenly a child comes through the door, I will do my best to make sure they remove themselves as quickly as possible. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit this morning about why the British Council thinks that school leadership is so important. And I'm going to start with this slide that you see in front of you now, which is really about the influences on student outcomes. So what are the things that have the biggest impact on how well children do at school? And this comes from John Hattie and from the wealth of research that he has done into what works well in schools. And you will see on the pie chart that one of the biggest influences on student outcomes is home life, is what happens at home, the support you get at home, your background, your prior attainment, etc., etc. And there's not much we can do as school leaders to impact on that. But the second biggest influence on student outcomes is teacher effectiveness. So if somebody could just click the button again, what you'll see there is that hopefully an arrow will come up and show you that in that orange section, you'll see that teacher effectiveness is the second biggest influence over student outcomes. And therefore, we think that it's really important that as school systems, we focus on ensuring that our teachers are as effective as they possibly can be. Could you click again, please? Nothing's happening on my screen at the moment.
Can anyone else? Yeah, is there?
Okay, yeah, keep clicking through then. Can you click a couple more times for Charlie, please? Lovely, once more.
Yeah.
Lovely, thank you. So if we know that teacher effectiveness is the most important, I think this graph illustrates it really, really well, because what this graph illustrates is that where you have a student who maybe comes about mid-table in terms of their performance at the age of 8, if you have a really high, if that student has a really high performing teacher, by the end of the 3rd year they might be reaching outcomes at the 90th percentile. So they might be doing really, really well if they've had that high performing teacher for 3 years. Students with low performing teachers might end up at the 37th percentile. So an enormous difference in terms of pupil outcomes and how well children do in school, according to whether they get a good teacher or a poorer teacher. Therefore, if you can click again, Vaishali, why do we think, therefore, that school leadership is so important? Well, the reason that school leadership is so important, keep clicking, Vaishali, is that school leaders have such an enormous impact on the quality of teachers. They have the biggest impact on how well their teachers teach. So I put 3 quotes up on that slide there for you to read, which I'm hoping are on your screens now. They're not on mine yet.
Yes,
on the off chance. Okay, so I can't see them yet, but the three quotes that I've got written on that slide are from a variety of academics and researchers. The first from a group of researchers reporting in 2010 to the National College of School Leadership here in England, who said successful school leaders improve teaching and learning and thus pupil outcomes most powerfully through their influence on staff motivation, their commitment to teaching practices, and through developing teachers' capacities for leadership, which really plays on what the previous speaker said about the involvement of the school leader in the quality of instruction within their school. You'll see Leithwood in 2019, school leadership is second only to classroom teaching as an influence on pupil learning. And finally, and I think this is very stark at the end, student achievement in a school almost never exceeds the quality of its leadership and management, and improvements in performance almost never occur in the absence of good leadership. It's what somebody said in the chat just a little while ago. We know that it is school leaders that create the success of the school, and they do that most importantly through their influence over the quality of teaching and instruction in their schools. You click on, thank you. Here you've got another piece of research which basically demonstrates what I've just said, that effective school leadership is critical to student achievement. So this slide basically shows that by replacing an average principal with an outstanding principal in an average school, that could increase student achievement by over 20 percentile points. But I want to draw your attention to the dark blue box on the right-hand side, because what that does is it begins to define for us what does effective school leadership really involve? What does an effective school leader spend their time doing? And this particular piece of research basically broke it into 3 areas. Instructional leadership, which the previous speaker mentioned, which focuses on improving current instructional practice. The second is about managing change. We all know that humans by their very nature don't like change. We've had to adapt a lot, haven't we, to massive change recently in our lives, but everybody finds it difficult to deal with change, and the school leader plays an absolutely pivotal part in leading any changes within the school. And finally, the final point is about the administrative role of the school leader, focusing on maintaining an orderly environment, on budgeting, and on other support functions. I suppose the challenge for all of us as school leaders, it's a challenge that I often ask myself, is how much of my time do I spend on those 3 different aspects of school leadership? How much time do I spend in my week focusing on the quality of instruction, the quality of school leadership in the school? How much do I manage change within the school? And then how much time do I spend on administrative tasks? Now, I think that we've been challenged in our thinking as school leaders here in England for 10, 15 years by the encouragement that we have had to focus on the instructional, by the focus on the quality of teaching. And yet, even though we've been presented with very clear evidence that by focusing on instructional leadership, by focusing on the quality of teaching, that will likely bring about the greatest impact. The reality is that many of us spend still a disproportionate amount of time on administration. Can you go to the next slide, please, Vaishali? I mean, this is what I imagine really that a school leader needs to look like most of the week. You know, we are juggling enormous amounts of things all of the time, aren't we? You know, we have our stakeholders that we need to manage. We need to think about our school buildings. We need to think about our curriculum. We need to think about our budgets. We need to think about, the quality of instruction in the school. We need to think about our staffing. We need to think about the arrangement of our classes, of behaviour. It can become overwhelming for a school leader in terms of the amount that they have to juggle and how many hands they need in order to keep all of that working effectively all of the time. But if you click on the next, click once more, please. But this piece of research by Vivienne Robinson, which I'm sure my colleague Jane Dougherty will build on later on in her presentation about instructional leadership, basically looked at the effect sizes of what a school leader does and the impact that it subsequently has on the quality of outcomes within the school. So you will see there are 5 different areas there that Vivienne Robinson has chosen to concentrate on. So establishing goals and expectations, resourcing strategically, planning, coordinating and evaluating teaching and the curriculum, promoting and participating in teacher learning and development, and then the final one, ensuring an orderly and supportive environment. And what you will see there is that actually what she found was that the greatest impact that a school leader could have was through the active engagement in teacher learning and development. So clearly, you know, what's important here is, do I know how well my teachers teach? Am I really clear who's a brilliant teacher, who finds teaching more difficult? What aspects of teaching do they find challenging? What aspects of teaching do they find satisfying and that they do well? You know, how well do I know my teacher body? How well do I know how well my teachers teach? And then what do I do about that in order to make sure that they improve? Okay, so that's about an active involvement in coaching and feedback, really, effective feedback to teachers on their performance, and also about the putting together of an effective continuing professional development offer within the school that supports teachers to improve their practice. And that's not necessarily through sending people on courses or, you know, being lectured about something in particular. It might be allowing teachers to work together, to observe each other, to see, you know, how they can improve their practice so that they can observe what's gone well about this lesson, what might need to improve. So it's not all about lectures or courses, it's also about enabling teachers to work together to improve their own practice. So just one more slide from me before I finish. So just a little bit about the British Council's work in this area then, and I'm sure that both, as I say, both Jane Dougherty and Chris Tweedale later on will talk most about this. But the work that we are focused on at the moment really is in line with what the previous speaker talked about, and that is about instructional leadership. It's about really encouraging and supporting school leaders to have a really clear vision for what they want to see in their school in terms of what does good teaching look like and what does really good learning look like, and then really supporting them to focus on that in their school day. So, you know, maybe making sure that they delegate tasks that are less important to outcomes, to student outcomes, and really focus on improving the quality of teaching within their school. We also try to ensure that we create lots of opportunities for policymakers and practitioners to engage with us on this topic. And so to that end, we have a new publication coming out in the early part of next year, which will focus on school leadership specifically and instructional leadership specifically. That will be free to everybody, and we can make sure that people have access to that publication. It will have lots of articles from all around the world about how people in different contexts and different situations are engaged in instructional leadership and improving pupil outcomes. We've recently developed a school leadership audit tool, which we are working with policymakers in country, where what we do is we work with them to look at what's going well in terms of school leadership in a country, and maybe what is more challenging, and then looking at what policy changes and what practical changes need to happen in order to improve the things that need improving and to build on the things that are already successful. We run a lot of professional development for school leaders, specifically again focused on instructional leadership in the main, but also about developing an international dimension to your curriculum. And we also try to establish international networking groups so that people who would like to talk to each other can. I can see there are questions in the chat about that. So we can maybe pick that up later on in the questions about engaging with the British Council. And in fact, Vaishali can say a little bit more, I'm sure, in the question and answer session about how Nepalese school leaders in particular can engage with the British Council on this agenda. But certainly the new publication will be available for everybody. It'll be free to download in the new year, and I very much look forward to continuing to discuss this important topic with you. So thank you for your time this morning, and I'll hand back over to Vaishali.
Thank you, Susan. Like I mentioned before, we will take the question and answers at the end after the third presenter has done this presentation. So please keep the questions coming. Over to you, Wasim, for your presentation now. Wasim, can you hear me?
Good evening, dear participants. Are you listening, my voice? Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Good evening, dear participants. Thank you very much for providing opportunity to share my views on this prestigious forum. My name is Wasim Haider, and I have 30 years working experience in various capacities in School Education Department of Punjab, Pakistan. I have received many local and foreign trainings. Foreign trainings include adult education by International Training Center from JICA, Osaka, Japan, material development from Srinidhi Dhun Institute of Continuous Learning, Thailand. I have also given the chance to visiting Bangladesh under UNESCO exchange program, and I visited Johannesburg last year in connection with assessing core skills. Now coming to the topic, I would like to share my thoughts on current policies and practices on school leadership in Pakistani context. If we talk about the legislative aspect regarding education in Pakistan, after the 18th amendment, provinces are allowed to develop their own curriculum and education policies, while previously they were bound to follow the curriculum and education policy developed by the Federal Ministry of Education. In this way, the provinces have the autonomy to contextualize their curriculum and textbook according to their local needs. Now, the provinces have more freedom due to design their trainings on the policies design local needs of the teachers. The present government is focusing on good governance by introducing information technology in the form of program like e-learning. In this program, all the textbooks have been digitalized with animation, and they are available online and can be easily accessible for the teacher and students. School information system is another program, is comprising the digitalized services record of every teacher, and Digital Pakistan is another big initiative in this regard. Therefore, developing and enhancing leadership stand is one of the major aspects in our education current policies. Slide 2, please. Switch over to slide 2. Like any other countries of the world, Pakistan also adopted some measures for an improved school leadership that is capable to remain as par with changing trends at global level. District education authorities have been established. They are given high degree of autonomy with a culture of delegated leadership. With the delegated leadership, I mean mobilizing leadership expertise at all levels in the schools from top to bottom. So leadership training is important at different levels. Now I discuss every level separately. First, induction level. It's a training program designed for newly recruited teachers, head teachers, and education managers. It is crucial time to introduce them with the leadership styles besides delivering other components of the training to accomplish their duties more confidently. So a major component of leadership training is part of induction training program. Early childhood education. It is an initiative of the government. In this program, the students of preschool level are enrolled and are result of through activity-based learning and taught through activity-based learning. ECE turned out as huge success as it was now owned by the head teachers of schools, and it increased enrollment in our public schools. Promotion-linked trainings. Under the promotion policy 2010 of Government of Pakistan, it was made mandatory to qualify a promotion-linked training for being promoted to the next level or grade. The training programs were designed for the teachers, educational manager at 4 levels. Promotion-linked trainings have been designed mainly focusing on the leadership content, as most of the teachers have to assume leadership positions after qualifying their promotion-linked training. Punjab Education and English Language Initiative, PELI. It's a British Council supported program. Also, the main focus of the program is to improve the English language instruction of the teachers in real classroom. Still, leadership training is one of its components. Connecting Classroom International School Award. It is yet another program being run with the technical and financial support of British Council. One of the components of this program is Professional Development School Leaders. It brought huge impact on the success of this program. As a result of leadership training, 157 schools of public sector won International School Award last year. Miscellaneous trainings. Some autonomous bodies or private sector organizations also request Qaid-e-Azam Academy for Educational Development for the professional development of their staff. Leadership training is also an essential component of these miscellaneous trainings. Now I would like to brief some about the private sector's activities being carried about leadership. For education its youth, Pakistan has different school systems. These broadly can be divided into 2 major categories, public and private sector schools. Public sector schools are run and financed by the state, very clear policies, structured practices. Whereas private sector schools are managed on self-help basis and are owned by individual groups, trusts, or different organizations. Historically, private provisions of education is not new in Pakistan. However, until in 1990s, private schools were believed to serve the elite class, but in post-denationalization phase, private schools didn't remain an urban elite phenomenon. Rather, Pakistan witnessed an exponential increase in the role of private sector service provided. It has been observed that institutions in the private sector usually outperform in comparison to many public schools in the same vicinity. It is not that are better or clear policies and well-defined or developed practices in the private sector, but most private schools had been able to deliver quality education and amicable public results. However, different educational enterprises in the private sector are running training programs for the middle and high tiers of leadership for their own employees, which are very much geared to their schools. During now, I would like to discuss the activities relating to leadership we carried out during the COVID-19 era. During the pandemic, when schools were closed from March to September for almost 6 months, Punjab Guide Department, in collaboration with British Council, under Connecting Classroom program, switched to online training session for very first time and received overwhelming response from both teachers and head teachers. Citizenship is an important topic during these circumstances. So these trainings were delivered by British Council and Qaid-e-Azam Academy for Educational Development, trainers who were validated by Imagine UK. Almost 300 teachers attended training on citizenship. In October, we are going to launch instructional leadership and will be delivered to 500 validated master trainers of school leadership development program. Slide 3, please switch over. School Education Department CAID, in collaboration with British Council, launched School Leadership Development Program. It was a game changer and was the biggest initiative taken by the government of Punjab, Pakistan. In this way, we prepared 52 lead trainers and 500 validated master trainers. They were validated by Imagine UK. And one thing which I very much likely to mention and proudly that last year 851 lead trainers were produced by the different supported programs, and from 851, 551 produced by School Leadership Development Program. In this program, we deliver 48 modules to the 15,000 head teacher of elementary, secondary, and higher secondary. And the impact of this is very great and fruitful. We have the major areas of training in SLDPs were information and communication technology, school improvement plan, education acts and ordinance, monitoring and evaluation techniques, leading and management leadership style, community engagement, leadership and time management, action and strategic planning, curating and community vision, building team, planning, monitoring, evaluating, and reviewing self-evaluation, leading effective teacher learning, understanding staff motivation, financial management, and other rules related to the service department service rule. Now, I would like to share the impact of School Leadership Development Program. SLDP2 is training cascade program uniquely evolved and customized to Pakistani context has lasted deep impression on school leadership by developing their soft and technical skills. Now the school leaders are confident and efficient and are successfully exercising their vision to develop teaching learning culture. Their enhanced professional and technical skills have been enabled them to uplift the school education system comprehensively, spanning from academics to infrastructure. Now the public schools are most beautiful, attractive, and well equipped by concrete endeavors of school heads. Against the previous practices, now consumer allocated budget economically for student welfare is eased and practically being witnessed. Now enrollment is considerably increasing, dropout is being controlled, matriculation interim results are improving year by year. This has been a very successful project, giving very fruitful results and has brought long-term changes in the school. Every step was validated and monitored, reviewed, and then ensured. Every head teacher was found very anxious about the training session. This has been trendsetter project which has raised the standard of training up to the mark in the public sector. It is very successful, met the review and monitoring criteria of British Council Pakistan, British Council UK, and research parties. Next slide, sir. The government of Pakistan believes in centralization of power. So in new local government system, powers are dissolved from province to district and district to tehsil. A new education secretariat is being established for district of southern areas which are far from the center. A separate secretary has been appointed to look after the matters that are in the new local government system, which is going to be implemented from the next year. We have come from district level to the tehsil level. So this decentralization of power, decentralization of authorities have enabling the grassroots authorities to increase the leadership and other related issue at the their own at the doorstep of their own. So during school leadership development program, we faced some challenges which I would like to share. That was mostly the responses from our trainees and the head teachers. We are already doing best without this type of training. It does not align with the field realities and working atmosphere. Trainings are just wastage of time. Our curriculum does not require this. It is district based, so we have to travel long. This training was conducted only at district, and people have to travel from long to attend the training session. So this was a somewhat development. Availability of in-time financial grant, resistance from female against co-training in some district. In some district, they are very fundamental and very religious minded, and so that was the resistance we received from some far from district of the Pakistan. Training of 15 head teachers. In this project, we trained 15,000 head teachers with 99% of attendance. We divided 15,000 head teachers into 3 groups. Each group comprises 5,000, and 15,000 were divided into 600 classes, and each group has 200 classes. So keeping in my view, I am very proud of this project, and being the project director of School Leadership Development Program, I think I have played a vital role in making it successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wasim. We will now be taking questions. So there are many questions that have come up. I think the first couple of ones are for Girman sir. So Girman sir, if you could switch your video on and come on the screen. The first couple of questions, Hazulaimo Rakhnisu. There's a lot of questions related to the recruitment of the head teachers. So there are a couple of questions coming in from Haribhakta Dahal, Durga Pandya, Ganesh Shrestha. So similar type of questions. Why aren't leadership given to quality senior teachers? There are very good education policies, but why aren't head teachers selected according to the policy? And a very similar question. Sorry, एकैछिन sir, अर्को एउटा question पनि त्यसमा म जोडिहाल्छु. Why are head teachers usually selected on the basis of political background rather than their quality? So mainly about leadership recruitment. So हजुरले address गरिदिनुहुन्छ कि?
हजुर हजुर
हजुर सर, question सुन्नुभयो?
सुने मैले हेरिरहेको छु हजुर यहाँ पनि. हजुर सुरु गरौँ है त.
हजुर हजुर.
हस् थ्याङ्क यू. धेरै राम्रो प्रश्नहरू राख्नु भएको छ. पहिलो मैले यहाँ 1 2 3 4 गरेर यसो टिपेको छु. पहिलो चाहिँ एसआइपी बन्ने गर्छ तर त्यो चाहिँ कार्यान्वयनमा आउँदैन भन्ने कुरा लेख्नु भएको छ. यो सबै स्कुलमा त्यस्तो होइन. कयौं स्कुलले अत्यन्तै पार्टिसिपेटरी वेबाट एसआइपी निर्माण गरेर त्यसको कार्यान्वयन गरी स्कुललाई चाहिँ राम्रो बनाउन सफल भएको अवस्था छ. र अहिले अब माध्यमिक तहसम्मको शिक्षाको अधिकार स्थानीय तहमा गएको हुनाले अब स्थानीय तहकै सहयोगबाट स्थानीय तहकै मोनिटरिङ उनीहरूको चाहिँ एकदम नजिकबाट त्यसको अनुगमन गर्ने विधि प्रक्रियालाई फलो गर्दै र अत्यन्तै सहभागितामूलक ढङ्गले एसआइपी निर्माणका कामहरू अगाडि बढेको छ. र यसमा चाहिँ स्थानीय तहले सपोर्ट गर्ने अनुगमन गर्ने हुनाले अब चाहिँ एसआइपी बन्ने मात्रै होइन, एसआइपी कार्यान्वयन भई विद्यालयको सुधारमा चाहिँ यसले टेवा पुर्याउँछ भन्ने चाहिँ मलाई लाग्छ. दोस्रो छ पोलिसीहरू, राम्रो पोलिसीहरू चाहिँ बन्ने गर्छन् तर व्यवहारमा चाहिँ खास कार्यान्वयनमा आउन सकेको अवस्था छैन भनेर भन्नुभएको छ. यो केही हदसम्म अब सत्य पनि छ. तर अहिले जति पनि स्कुल लिडरसिपको विषयमा जे जति पोलिसीहरू एसएसटिपीमा लगायत एजुकेसन पोलिसीमा चाहिँ रिफ्लेक्ट भएको छ, ती कुराहरू अब मोडल स्कुलको अवधारणा अगाडि आएको छ र मोडल स्कुलको अवधारणासँगै मोडल स्कुलहरू बन्दै जाने क्रममा, विकास हुँदै जाने क्रममा यी पोलिसीहरू पनि क्रमशः कार्यान्वयन हुँदै अब चाहिँ सबै सेकेन्डरी लेभलको स्कुलहरूमा चाहिँ तपाईको प्रहको छुट्टै पद सिर्जना गरी अनि यसको कानुन हुन्छ, पोलिसीको कानुन हुन्छ भन्ने कुरा म यहाँलाई अनुरोध गर्न चाहन्छु। तेस्रो कुरो छ पोलिटिकल्ली अपोइन्टमेन्ट को कुरा आयो। यो हेड टिचरहरू चाहिँ खास गरी अलि नजिकको मान्छेहरू अनि त्यसपछि गएर चाहिँ राजनीति हिसाबले नजिक भएको लोकल लिडरहरूको चाहिँ नजिक भएको मान्छेलाई चाहिँ हेड टिचर दिने भनिन्छ। यो भनिए पनि तर त्यो सबै विद्यालयमा त्यो अवस्था होइन। कयौँ स्कुलहरूमा अत्यन्तै सक्षम योग्य नेतृत्व लिन सक्ने शिक्षकलाई नै हेड टिचरमा चाहिँ छनौट गरेर नियुक्ति गरेको अवस्था छ। त्यसैले यो केही स्कुलहरूमा जहाँ यो पोलिटिकल्ली हेड टिचर नियुक्ति गर्ने गरिन्छ त्यो भने त्यसमा चाहिँ सुधार आउन आवश्यक छ, त्यसलाई सच्याउन आवश्यक छ र त्यस्ता स्कुलहरूले जो अत्यन्तै सक्षम योग्य र नेतृत्व लिन सक्नेलाई छनौट गरेर हेड टिचर बनाएको छ र विद्यालयको व्यवस्थापकीय पक्षमा तथा विद्यालयको चाहिँ शिक्षण सिकाइमा चाहिँ ठुलो परिवर्तन हेड टिचरले ल्याउन सफल हुनुभएको छ। उहाँहरूको सिको गर्न आवश्यक छ भन्ने म अनुरोध गर्न चाहन्छु। अर्को चाहिँ प्राइभेट स्कुलको हेड टिचरहरूलाई तालिम छैन, सबै गभर्मेन्ट स्कुलको हेड टिचरहरूलाई मात्रै तालिम छ भनेर भन्नुभएको छ। यो कुरो चाहिँ हो र यो प्रश्न चाहिँ अत्यन्तै मननीय पनि छ र यसलाई अलिकति प्राइभेट स्कुलले इनिसिएसन लिएर अगाडि बढ्न पनि आवश्यक छ भन्ने लाग्छ मलाई। र अहिलेसम्मको प्रावधान भनेको हाम्रो कम्युनिटी स्कुलको हेड टिचरहरूलाई नै तालिम दिने, कम्युनिटी स्कुलको टिचरहरूलाई तालिम दिने, सर्टिफिकेसन ट्रेनिङ अनि रिफ्रेसर ट्रेनिङहरू चाहिँ दिने प्र्याक्टिस छ। अनि अर्को चाहिँ तालिमबाट सिकेका हेड टिचर ट्रेनिङ होस् अथवा टिचर ट्रेनिङ होस्, सिकेका नलेज स्किल र एटिट्युडहरू चाहिँ तपाईँको स्कुलमा त्यति ट्रान्सफर हुँदैन अथवा अप्लाई हुँदैन र विद्यालयमा चाहिँ सेयरिङ पनि हुँदैन भनेर चाहिँ यहाँ जिज्ञासा राख्नु भएको छ। त्यो चाहिँ के हो त भन्दाखेरि स्कुलमा एउटा सेयरिङ कल्चर चाहिँ विकास नभएको कारणले नै हो। त्यो अनिवार्य छ। जो टिचरले तालिम लिएर गए पनि हेड टिचरले तालिम लिएर गए पनि तालिममा के सिपहरू के कुराहरू भयो, के सिपहरू सिकियो र विद्यालयको लागि महत्त्वपूर्ण कुराहरू के छ तालिमबाट सिकेका, ती कुराहरू चाहिँ स्कुल एउटा कम्युनिटी भएको हिसाबले त्यहाँ हेड टिचर अनि विद्यालय व्यवस्थापन समिति अनि के अरे शिक्षक अभिभावक सङ्घ सबैको उपस्थितिमा चाहिँ त्यो सेयर गर्न सक्ने चाहिँ हुनुपर्छ, सेयर गर्नुपर्छ। त्यसबाट सबै लाभान्वित हुन्छ। चेन्ज ल्याउनको लागि केही न केही चेन्ज ल्याउनको लागि र तालिममा सिकेको सिपलाई व्यवहारमा विद्यालयमा लागू गर्नको लागि चाहिँ स्कुलमा सेयरिङ कल्चर आवश्यक छ भन्ने चाहिँ मैले यति मात्रै अनुरोध गरेँ।
हजुर, thank you, Gimran sir. We will now be asking the next couple of questions to Susan. Susan, would you want to please come up on the screen for the participants?
Here, yep. I might pass anything back to you about international networking there, Vishali.
Right, so I could add on, the question is from Jay Krishna Marajan, where he's asking about these international networks. If you're aware, Susan, about any international networks for head teachers or any international forums where head teachers could come together just like teachers come, or is there anything in the UK that is similar kind, like we have lots of teacher associations in different countries? Any similar approach or association in the UK?
There are lots of opportunities, I think. I mean, I attended, for example, on Monday, WISE, W-I-S-E, ran a school leadership event all day on Monday, which was fascinating. Again, it had people from all over the world. And certainly the British Council will offer opportunities for school leaders to network through the various different programs they ran. But that's why I thought, would you like to say anything, Vishali, just about the Connecting Classrooms program?
Sure. Yes, Jay Krishna Marajan, I mean, I just mentioned about our Connecting Classrooms through Global Learning program that we have running in Nepal. So as part of this program, we do work with a lot of head teachers around the country. This is a program that we're doing in partnership with the government. So there are a couple of sites and schools that we've selected to work with in the next 1 year of the project that we have. but we do work with any teacher, any school who's interested as part of our International School Award as well, where we build a lot of capacity of our head teachers as well. So there is a lot of training programs and courses that we have for head teachers. So in case you're interested, or you know a couple of teachers or head teachers, a couple of schools who would be interested, we will be leaving our contact details. Gaurav Sharma, he kind of looks after our Connecting Classrooms program. Gaurav, can I request you to please put your email address on the chat box so that if anyone wants to know more about the program, they can get in touch with us.
Lovely.
Susan, there's a very interesting question in the chat box, which of course is based on the Nepal context, but something that I found really interesting. It talks about proactive women leaders not really being able to come up in the front and are kind of underrated. That is definitely a case in Nepal. Is it the same in the UK? Do we have lots of head teachers who are women?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, the teaching profession, I don't know whether that's the same in Nepal, but the teaching profession in the UK is a female-dominated one. However, at leadership level, there is, that shifts. So if you compare how many men are actually in the profession and then what percentage of those men are actually in leadership positions, that percentage of men that are in leadership positions is far higher than the percentage of women that are in leadership positions. I think there are some grassroots movements in the UK who are trying to do something about that. So Women Ed, which I can write in the chat room, might be interesting for people to take a look at. There are Women Ed organizations which are, as I say, they are groups of professionals who want to work together to promote female leadership. There are Women Ed groups in lots of different countries now. I don't know whether there's one in Nepal, but I'm sure I can put people in touch with people in the UK Women Ed network should people be interested in me doing that. So I'll put that in the chat box so people can take a look at it.
Thanks, Susan. I think that'll be great. Because yes, something like this doesn't really exist in Nepal. So I think it would be great for our women leaders to kind of build this network so that it builds their confidence to kind of come up and talk about their skills and expertise. Thank you, Susan. The next question is for Wasim. Wasim, if you could put your video on for us and come up on the screen, that would be great. So Wasim, we've got a question from Durga who says, how are head teachers appointed in Pakistan? Are they free to develop and implement their own school improvement plans?
Yeah, in Pakistan, head teachers are appointed in two ways. First, by the selection by the Punjab Public Service Commission. They are selected by Service Commission after shortlisting and interview and test of their relative subjects. And second, they are appointed by the virtue of their promotion. When they get promotion and they get hired, they are promotion to according to their scales of their schools. So these are the two methods of selecting head teachers in Pakistan.
Okay. And in the school improvement plans, are they able to implement their own plans, or is it guided?
Yes, they have the authority and the freedom to improve school improvement plans. Actually, Qaid-e-Azam Academy for Educational Development, where I'm working, they have made a school improvement plan, which we have given to every and each headmaster, and he is bound to implement on this. However, if he want to do something at his own, he can do it.
Okay, thank you, Wasim. Right, so I think we've come to the end of the first session. Thank you so much to all our participants. We will now be taking a very quick break for about 15 minutes. I would request all the participants to end this call. We will be starting afresh at 3:30. So please make sure to log in about 2-3 minutes before 3:30 so that we can start the next session exactly at 3:30. The next session will be focusing on instructional leadership, where we have 2 speakers presenting on the topic. So thank you so much once again for everyone attending the opening of the session. Of the 5-day session. We will see you again at 3:30. You can click on the same link again to join the next session at 3:30. Thank you so much.
Is it break time? Is it break time?
Yeah, it's break time till 3:30.